Hey, what's up guys, CHILLOUT here, welcome back to more Witch on the Holy Night. Last time we finished Night of the Witches 1, and you know, they got through the ordeal of the puppet, but now Alice showed up and was like, what was that about you sparing the witness? I'm sorry, what was that? Who said you could spare him? I didn't say you could spare him. And so yeah, we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna deal with Alice wanting Sojiro dead, which is a scary prospect because she's, as far as I'm aware, very strong. And the bit we saw for in 1.5 probably wasn't even her full capabilities, so I'm kind of terrified. But anyway, let's get started. Night of the Witches 2. Chapter 5, Night of the Witches 2. The melody stirred an emotion like nostalgia within them. Something once familiar but now lost to this world. They believed, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it would play for all eternity. From opening stanza to final coda, it was a mysterious siren song, merry yet longing, that heralded a return from dreams to reality. Well, that sounds nice. Right, guys? The night shook. The song was spun. Now their lost paradise was unearthed. Abandoned dreams. Forsaken idols. They all responded to the cry of the blue cat. The name of that bell was Diddle Diddle, Banquet of the Night. All fables made possible, all marvels made real, by the magecraft of Alice Quonji, more magical than magic itself. What do you mean selfish?
それはあなた一人で決めていいことだったかしら、青子。
I mean, why not? Alice sat perched atop the clock tower like a black bird of ill omen. She smoothed the ruffles of her skirt as if she were preening.
Alice.
Yeah. That's not good. There was tension in Aoko's voice as she lifted her head. The calm atmosphere from a moment prior had long since been shooed away by Alice's gaze. Yeah, in front of the school earlier today. Or the day before, whatever. Sojiro searched his hazy memory. He couldn't clearly make out her face at this distance, but he was sure he had seen her around town. Oh wait, no, he gave her food! From in 1.5, Alice mentioned that the delivery guy in the cat suit gave her food for free because it was left over. Oh boy. But he was sure he had seen her around town a number of times. Where and when eluded him. However, as the tension in the air kept him where and when eluded him. However, as the tension in the air kept him from connecting all the dots.
驚いた。随分と仲間思いになったのね、アリス。今夜は私に任せるんじゃなかったっけ?
Maybe she didn't trust you to do it. Aoko readied her guard and took half a step forward. Unconsciously. From an objective standpoint, it almost looked as though she were protecting the figure beside her. Hey, yo. Okay. Alice's silence grew ever heavier. Her eyes, fixed on the ground below her, were devoid of emotion. An indescribable sense of dread and pressure laid claim over the plaza.
Corner?
Yeah, I hear that too. What was... Is that a signal of some kind? If he strained his ears, he could make out the faint ringing of a bell echoing in the distance. The rippling sound waves seemed, unbelievably, to be emanating from under the ground.
なあ、青崎。あの子。
黙ってて。
You just shut up. He's like, what? Rude? Sojiro stepped back, trying to stay out of the way. It was as though he had been told to go to hell. I don't know about that, but for the crime of asking if the girl was Alco's friend. I mean, sort of, but
仲間思いに当てはまるかは微妙だけど、良くない予感がしたから様子を見に来ただけ。
Okay. Thanks for checking, I guess.
別にあなたの仕事を疑ったわけじゃないわ。
Okay.
それはどうも。どうせならもう少し早くその良くない予感とやらに気づいてほしかったけど。
Yeah, we could use some help against the puppet.
でもま、ご覧の通り自己解決したわ。
Well, from Alice's point of view, I don't think she sees it that way with, you know, Sojiro being alive and all.
夜も遅いし、さっさと帰っていいわよ、アリス。私の仕事っぷりを疑うわけじゃないんでしょ？
Yeah, that's totally gonna work. Their eyes locked on one another. Oh boy. Alice's stare was uncomfortably cold. Alco's was bold, daring Alice to air her complaints.
いえ、気が変わったわ。せっかくだし二人で帰りましょう。その方があなたらしいわ。帰りしな、人形の話でも聞かせてちょうだい。
So we're gonna live? Sojiro anyway? Right?
らしいって何よ、らしいって。いいから帰れ帰れ、ぐうたらアリス。部屋に閉じこもって役に立たないムクドリでも作ってろっての。
Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't provoke her. Oh boy. A disappointed sigh escaped Alice's delicate lips. It seemed that the black-clad girl was more astonished than angry.
青子、口にしたくないけど。
Seriously? Like, really? Quietly, Alice questioned her roommate of nearly 2 years. I feel like that's fair.
呆れた。二人で秘密を守ると言ったのに。
Okay, you know... I mean, I guess to be fair, in this context, and like in this particular situation, Alice isn't the one in the wrong, I guess. Technically speaking, they are supposed to kill Sojiro, so it's like, I don't know.
まだ半端にそっち側なの？それとも情でも移った？別に情っていうより私の気分。
Okay.
だいたい方針なんてその場その場で変わるもんでしょ。気分ならなおさらよ。そっちこそ一度した約束は絶対守るなんて時代遅れなんじゃない？
Yeah, I guess. The proverbial knives were out now. No quarter was given, no quarter taken. Sadly, their partnership was one of convenience and hadn't reached the level of mutual understanding. Their version of friendship was both delicate and unique. When a conflict of opinion rose, each would refuse to budge until the other crumbled. Neither was concerned for the other's plight, and at least for now, that was how they liked it.
そうね。今の暴言はあなたらしいとは思うけど。
Okay. Once again, she let out a sigh even larger than the one before.
言い争いは後にしましょう。そこの彼をいなかったことにするのは私だけで十分だし。
You know, I think everyone would prefer that you didn't. Finally, she struck straight to the point. As if making to move a chess piece, Alice lifted her slender finger. A fork? I'm sorry? Huh? He's like, wait, what? what happened? Even this simple action seemed mysterious to Sojiro. The same boy who had been hunted by his classmate Aoko Awazaki and borne witness to an automaton. Aoko's violence in an animated doll. Though perhaps far beyond the realm of logic, both these things were derived from reality. As surprised as he had been, there was no need to think of them as total mysteries. Okay. However, the giant fucking fork! When the thing appeared out of thin air from a seemingly unrelated gesture, he had no word for it besides mysterious. Sojiro stood motionless, captivated by the stage performer's magic trick, as the girl's single-finger magecraft turned into an attack directed at him. Oh. Okay, Aoko ain't letting that slide, I see. A blue light flew from the side to repel it, annihilating it without a trace.
Yaba.
Did she not even did she do that on reflex? That's okay. Okay, Aoko. Aoko immediately regretted her reflexive shot.
どういうこと？約束を曲げただけじゃなく、ルールまで破るつもり？
Yes. The hardy chilled midwinter air plunged below freezing. Alice looked calm and collected on the outside, but in reality, she was sometimes even more hot-blooded than Aoko. Especially when it concerned her familiars. Accidentally destroying one would often result in a week of silent treatment. But maliciously destroying one, Alice would reserve the right to retaliate without fair warning.
あっちゃー、いつかやるとは思ったけど、ついに激鱗に触れちゃったか。
Yeah, especially when you're probably not as powerful as Alice is. Though Aoko was shocked at the depth of her own stupidity, she also was in fact a little bit relieved. She didn't intend to make any excuses, and she had no regrets. If she'd broken the rules, then so had Alice.
Aoko.
Yeah.
なんていうか。
If anything, this took a load off her mind. After all, now there was no going back. Yeah, Aoko never intended to break her own rules. If there was anything for Aoko to regret, it was putting too little power into her shot.
私的に今夜こいつに死なれるのは困るのよ。
Thanks.
なんで日を改めて殺しに来てくれないアリス。いいでしょ？たった1日ぐらい。
Him going out and telling everybody? I don't know. Taking on a pro bono case in the defense of Suspect S was a socially acceptable thing. Okay, yeah.
それは市場？
悪い？一宿一般の恩義って割と大事にしてるの、私。
いや。
私との協定より。
Arguably, yeah.
ええ、時と場合によっては。
Sojo's human rights had not yet entered the argument. Yeah, Sojo, right now you're just a lump of meat, apparently. The girls were busy pouring oil on each other's flames. He's just like, what the fuck do I do? The girl clad in black was the first to move, or rather to erupt.
そう。よくわかったわ、青子。
Oh, it's good.
私は彼をここで殺す。
Not good.
あなたは彼をここだけ生かす。
Uh-huh.
つまり、私と戦う。ということでいい？
Yes?
そんなのいいわけないじゃない。
Aoko bit back the retort. She was very familiar with Alice's magecraft, and knew painfully well how many mystics were hidden in Alice's tiny body. The odds of victory were essentially non-existent. And once the first shot had been fired, Alice Kwonji was without mercy. Whether facing a roommate or a friend, a most beloved family member or a stranger, once Alice began to fight as a witch, she became a heartless, unflappable monster. Aoko advanced another half step forward as if to encourage herself. It was too late to back down now. The situation was no longer a trivial quarrel over a witness. The bedrock of their so-called friendship had nothing to do with their individual abilities, but everything to do with being equals in will. That is why, in order to stay true to herself, Aoko had no room for compromise or deception.
もちろん、あんたを殺すことになっても、そこのバカは生かしきるわ。それに。
Thanks for the sentiment. Uh-huh. Besides what? Her magic circuits howled as they kicked into gear, but besides what though? Her body, which had mostly been dormant during the battle with the puppet, ignited, preparing to demonstrate its true worth.
それに、どのみち最後には殺し合う仲でしょ、私たち。
Really? I mean, I don't really know about that, but okay. Her courage overpowered any fear she had for her opponent. Tuning her body, her magic circuits to become like the barrel of a gun, Aoko fired a magic bullet. It was an exceedingly basic magecraft formula. There was no nature interference, no creating of wind, parting of water, or hastening of decay. It was simply the process of converting the imaginary action known as magical energy into something real before releasing it as heat. Oh, okay. Thus, Aoko's destructive power was equal to her supply of magical energy. Okay, even though it's basic, it sounds like it's incredibly powerful. I don't know, man, I don't know enough about the magecraft in the Nasuverse to know for sure though, I don't know. The magic bullets she'd used against Sojiro were among the most basic single-action magecraft that didn't require an incantation. At her present ability, Aoko's main mode of attack, her magic bullet, could be fired at 3 levels of power. B's were at the 2nd level. This required a double action magecraft, a casting through activation of her crest combined with a simplified incantation. And Alice didn't even move to erect her shield. Okay, that's not good. However, Without blinking, Alice dispersed the shot that Aoko had mustered all for spirit to fire. Oh boy. Sojo's like, what the fuck is happening? Look at that, look at that man's face. He has no clue what the fuck is going on. Oh. Aoko tutted in frustration. A swift sneak attack, magecraft that used a simplified incantation, would not be enough to break Alice's guard.
相変わらずお堅いこと。そのから一段と独りよがりになってるんじゃない？
Aoko provoked Alice in order to disguise her own lack of composure. Somehow, Alice seemed delighted by Aoko's bravado. She's like, oh, that's cute. That's adorable. Yeah, something like that.
こういう勢いだけのきっかけは初めてだけど。驚いたわ。こんなくだらない理由でもその気になるものなのね。人間って。
Aren't you human? Like, what? Alice giggled. Smiling with heartfelt amazement, Alice gestured her left hand toward the earth. Oh boy. Why is it fucking plates and forks? What the fuck? Zap, zap, zap. Countless utensils shot out from underneath the cobblestones paving the plaza.
Shizuki-kun, 後ろに飛んで!
He's like, what? She grabbed his hand as she shouted, jumping backward before he even had a chance to respond. As if they had wills of their own, the utensils that had suddenly appeared from the ground gave chase. As the barrier of spears grew around them, Aoko and Sojiro put some distance between themselves and the clock tower. Maybe you stop trying to provoke her! Just under 30 feet stood between them and Alice. The lethal weapons that had crumbled the stone beneath them fell short of what Aoko had anticipated. They now encircled the clock tower, making the scene look like the burning of a witch at the stake.
普通逆じゃない？ここは私たちを逃がさないよう槍で周りを囲むものでしょ。
Yeah, that is kind of weird. The path behind them was... Maybe she's baiting you? She's probably baiting you, to be honest. The path behind them was safe. If they wanted, they could try to make a break for the main gate and escape. I feel like if you turn your back, you'll get speared in the back. I don't know.
いいの、アリス。悪いけど、逃げられるなら逃げるわよ。私。
Again, I think it's bait, but also look at Sojiro's face. I'm sorry, but what? My man's like, what the hell's going on here? If she could just make it back to town, it would be Aoko's win. Yeah, because then Alice would risk more witnesses. But again, you'll probably get shot in the back if you try and run away. So, all she wanted to do was let Sojiro get away for the night. So if she could get him back to the city, it would be, for the most part, mission accomplished. What's that?
Huh?
what was that? Or so she had thought. Without even offering a glance at her targets below, Alice carefully and lovingly pulled out a bottle from her pocket.
緑のフラスコ?
Uh-huh.
あれって確か。やば！とにかくファイヤー!
Why are you so scared of green goo? Her shot was deflected with ease. Gone was Aoko's earlier bravado. It was only natural. Aoko had indeed grown as a mage. Over the last 2 years of study, her studies had progressed well. and she'd more or less gotten a grasp on her roommate's tendencies and abilities. This had made her conceited enough to believe that, under favorable circumstances, she'd be able to show Alice a thing or two in a fight. That's fucking terrifying, by the way. What's with the single eye? You know, Alco, maybe let Sojro die. Maybe you should let him die. I think it'd be better for everyone in the long run. Alice uncorked the magical bottle. A gentle breeze caresses her cheek. Diddle diddle fled as a new player stepped onto the stage. But from where would it enter? The sound of footsteps, a nostalgic parade approached. This can only go well, right? I'm sure this is fine. Did she bring the whole fucking park to life? She did, didn't she? Oh no. Unfortunately, it was true. This was a miracle that Aoko Awazaki, an apprentice mage, had never witnessed. The dead came to life. Aren't people gonna notice all the lights coming on? Aren't you across the street from a residential district? Didn't they say that last chapter? Like, people are gonna notice and be like, what the fuck? And then there'll be more witnesses. Like, Alice, what are you thinking? The dead came to life. The inanimate awakened. The woods were enveloped by the mists. Fire-breathing lizards lurked in the swamps. Puppets made merry at midnight. Alice Konji's slender fingers had transfigured the entirety of the park, as if gently stroking the back of an elderly cat.
いいわ。ごっこ遊びをしましょう。青子。
Let's not. Okay, so I guess there's a mist that's making it so. I'm guessing she's doing something to make it so it's not noticeable from the outside. Probably. For one night, the wasteland of dashed hopes and dreams was restored to its former glory. It was an immortal monster ready to devour reality. A dark fairy tale that once unleashed would never let its prey escape.
逃げられるものなら逃げてみせて。
You kill him. It's fine. I'm over it, you know.
どこまで行けるかわからないけど、この夜を越えることができたのなら、あなたの勝ちにしてあげる。
Okay. Her declaration marked the start of a desperate battle. The witch in black laughed at her friend. Her musical mirth filled with affection, sadness, and innocent delight. Well, faded glory returned to KITSY Land. The neon glow of innumerable lights illuminated the night. Speakers filled the air with the sound of vinyl music. Merry-go-rounds, small and large, whirled round and round. All in all, it made for a mind-bending spectacle. It was certainly possible to power the facilities by transmuting magical energy into electricity via alchemy. That said, simply supplying the park with electricity would not have brought back to life that which was broken. The young woman did this not by mixing chemicals into a compound, but by melting down divine providence into a witch's brew. Meaning?
まずいわね。アリスのプロイは何個か見てきたけど、今回のは桁が違う。セット。
Stifling her anxiety, Alco fired up the crest on her right arm. If magic circuits were a mage's engine, then their crest was software that assisted their magecraft. For the fledgling mage, Alco, this was her trump card. All she had to do was supply magical energy to a crest-based formula. It may not have been the strongest magecraft, but it was hers. Proof that she was a successor of the Aozaki lineage. Okay, so yeah. So Toko doesn't have the Aozaki crest. Alco does. But Toko is insanely powerful, right? So like, did Toko become like absurdly powerful through like her own raw talent then? Like, was she just that talented? Okay. Huh.
講師2層直流数も
The pattern of her crest shifted to execute the formula, which then connected to her magic circuits. The process resembled trains changing rails, a puzzle involving dozens of circuits. She constructed it as swiftly as possible without sacrificing the quality of its construction. Instant magecraft cast without incantation would not be enough to reach Alice Quonji. Alco had gauged the strength of Alice's defense with her initial shots. Yeah, well, probably, she was probably actually going for an attack, but also used that to gauge. Okay, yeah, makes sense. She would dial up the power 5 times the next time, driving 20 tons of force into her target. That's a lot. Alice had the protection of the thick, hanging fog and the dense barrier around her. However, this attack would be more than enough to pierce through both. If Alco struck home, at best, it would cave in Alice's chest and end the fight. Okay, at worst, it would at least knock Alice down from her position atop the clock tower. Let me guess. There's a far, far worse option, where it barely does anything to her shield at all.
そろそろいいかな
He's like, what the fuck is happening? As always, there was one guy who spoiled the deadly tension, pulling Alco out of killer mode. Soju had been looking back and forth between Alco and Alice in confusion.
それでどういう話になったんだ
Have you not been keeping up with the conversation? Alice wants you dead. Alco doesn't, for now. And so they're fighting. He said it like he might ask for directions to this train station. Yeah. Yeah. Bro, Sojiro, you... He's too dense. There ain't no way. There ain't no way. Normally, she would have lashed out screaming in response, but his entirely serious tone shocked her more than it angered her.
信じられない。 慣れてきた
Yeah.
私
Yes, it is. Aoko swallowed back a sigh and returned her focus to activating her crest.
交渉は決裂。ちょっと怒らせすぎた。
Uh-huh.
あの子から見ればまあいい機会だし、遊園地ごと私を亡き者にしようって腹ね。
It's great. Bro, I can just imagine what face would go along with the question marks. It's bro. He is so lost. Sojiro tilted his head as if begging for a simpler explanation.
私割とあの子に恨まれてるから。捕まったが最後、どんな風に殺されるか想像すらできないわ。要するに、あんたも私もあの子をどうにかしないと生きて帰れないってことよ。
そんなとばっちりだ。
Well, to be fair, you're the one that ignited this whole thing, so.
まあ、そういうことになるかもね。
Okay. Yeah. As Sojiro protested in a tone wholly inappropriate to the situation, Aoko let another blast rip from her right arm. She wasn't aiming at Sojiro, though. A little earlier in the day, and Aoko would have been happy to do exactly that. But now, her attention was focused on the girl in black atop the clock tower. Yeah. You really thought she wouldn't do, like, you really thought she wouldn't put up any sort of extra protection when she saw how much force you were putting into that? Like, really? She could hardly grasp the situation amidst her astonishment. She fired the strongest, fastest magic bullet she had the ability to conjure, and Alice blocked it. That was to be expected. When Alice set her mind to defending herself, such an attack was child's play. But what just happened? Something she had never seen before leapt to Alice's defense. A team of horses? A plague of locusts? No. Those things existed in this world, unlike what Aoko had just witnessed. Normal creatures cannot form like a spontaneous cloud of fog and then dissipate just as quickly into the night sky. What the fuck? What the fuck is that? Impossible things moved in impossible ways. Alice was not even supplying them with any power source. Those things never needed power in the first place. Those broken and discarded things did not follow the rules of mankind. Okay, that's fucking horrifying. What the fuck is that? What is the horse on a train? Upside? Okay. Okay, sure. Yeah, no, this is normal. This was an invasion of fairy tales. Compared to them, the automaton looked merciful. Autonomous puppets were products of magecraft, but even then they behaved as puppets should. These newly animated things, however, were nothing of that sort. Empty vessels became living creatures. Dummies warped into malformed beings. There was a fog so dense with magical energy it visibly spread to all corners of the park, bringing with it a monstrous welcoming party that easily numbered over 1,000. Oh, that's great. That's lovely. Just machine gun fire. Spurred on by the shuddering sensation running down her spine, Aoko fired a barrage of single-action magic bullets. Oh, balloons! Cool. Her impulsive attack scattered futilely. Yeah, that's not good. The Knights of the Merry-Go-Round soared into the night sky. Green, fire-breathing lizards flocked. The bakeries opened their doors once again, and human-sized loaves of fresh bread marched from their ovens as platoons of newly baked soldiers.
Aozaki, 後ろ!
What's that supposed to be? Aoko and Sojiro completely surrounded. What even? Oh, it's the bread that they just mentioned, right? It doesn't look like bread though. I don't know. Okay, well. The Ferris wheel creaked as it gently turned. A rickety train car raced about the roller coaster tracks with KITSY, tears streaming down its face aboard. It was a grossly twisted fantasy. The girl in black reigned over the insanity-fueled park. Oh, now we're screwed. Aoko was transfixed by the scene unfolding around her. Then she realized what was happening. That would be...
そうだ、これは。
That's good. Alice had once told her of Meinster's familiars. Oh, okay. I don't know what that is. Among them were three of particular notoriety, one of which she recalled being capable of something similar to this. And it was called...
プロ力者、フラットスナーク。
Those words mean absolutely nothing to me. At least put together. Obviously I know what ploy and flat mean. I don't know. I don't know about all that, but okay.
Aozaki, だから後ろ!
What? Struck by Aoko's bullets, the creatures exploded into splinters. Oh, at least those died. It was clear Aoko's shots were becoming more powerful, but it was also the case that these beings were less robust than your average automata.
しずきくん、こっち!
Aoko turned away from the clock tower, grabbed his hand, and began to run. Yeah, good luck surviving the night.
青崎!
ごめん、これ無理!
Hey, at least you're sorry.
逃げるってどこに?
Yo, good point.
どこって、とにかく行けるところまで!
Also good point. She shouted as though trying to persuade herself as she valiantly cleared a path. Aoko's magic bullets flew like a scream, blowing away the creatures that stood in their way, or rather, simply gathered around. She made a hole for them to escape through. Oh. Magic bullets exploded like blue fireworks. Yeah, she's going ham. Aoko and Sojiro ran down the bumpy brick road. Their bond, forged in the heat of battle, went far beyond mutual convenience. They headed for the park's exit at full speed without exchanging a word or a look. The weirdness only extended as far as the park border, so they would be safe as long as they made it outside. I don't think it'll be as easy as just going through the gate, though. I'm not talking about these things. I feel like something at the gate itself is gonna happen, but we'll see. But Speaking in pure numbers, the difference in strength was 2 versus an army. Yeah, luckily only the bread things are getting in their way currently, which is kind of weird. Or rather, 1 versus an army. I mean these things in particular, just bread. I'm sure Sojiro could just bite one. I don't know. Sojiro was hardly useful in this situation, and manpower wasn't really the issue here since they were facing puppets. Yeah.
さっきの大丈夫？上からこうでっかいハサミが落ちてきたけど。
I'm sure he's fine. Alko shouted as she blasted away the monsters that stood in the path. There was no time to stop for breath, or even to look back.
なんとかギリギリ。
As Sojiro pursued, his voice too had naturally become shrill. That didn't really sound shrill to me, but okay. 5 minutes earlier, they had broken out of the siege at the plaza surprisingly fast. It seemed that the residents' awakening differed case by case, with larger creatures taking additional time.
ラッキー、朝に弱いタイプばっかと見た。
Why do you look so happy in this situation? I don't think this is the time for grinning. Alko joked as she mowed down the small fry that popped up. But then, without warning, something outrageous extended its way down from above them. Oh, what the fuck? It was the claws of the 60-foot lobster adorning the roof of a seafood restaurant. What the fuck? Bro, what? Its pincers were like a guillotine. As Alko and Sojiro cut across the front of the restaurant, the Red King pressed in at tremendous speed, keen on splitting them each in two. The gate was just on the other side of the restaurant, but they had to take the long way around in order to lose the giant lobsters snapping at their heels. Yeah. Waiting along their detour had been a horde of monsters, too many to count.
なんとかギリギリ。
And back to the present, okay. Sojiro called out in response, recalling just how narrowly he had avoided his head being severed clean from his body. Yeah.
手前。うわ、なんだあれ。焼きたてか。
そうみたいね。要するに下級兵士よ。
Alko halted her sprint and set her crest into full operation.
距離7、6、5メートル。あの程度ならスナップだけで事足りる。
Sliding along the brick path, she brandished her right arm. She loosed a shower of magic bullets. Snap was a single action spell that favored rate of fire over power, and it mowed down the monsters. Monsters with satisfying pops.
青崎そっちも。
了解。
They are working rather well together, weirdly enough. She fired it like a chain gun, just going in a circle, like. That was actually kind of cool, to be honest. Blue explosions bloomed along the lamp-lit promenade. Alko's curtain of fire fanned out like a beautiful star mine fireworks show. The toy bread man turned to charcoal.
いける。数でこそ押されてるけど、この状態が続くなら逃げ切れる。
I wouldn't get overconfident.
しずきくん、そっちは。
いない、空いてる。 ここからなら入り口の東側に出られるはずだ。
Good. Good. With a magical barrage that would leave an average spellcaster blue in the face, the novice mage broke through the siege. Meanwhile, a single bird keenly watched everything unfold. Yeah, we've seen that bird a couple times. Usually with Aoko once and Alice a couple times. Okay, so it's Alice's. Okay, it's kind of what I figured. Chirp, cheep, cheep, chirp. The moment the bluebird descended into its master's field of vision, it made its high-pitched call. The girl listened expressionlessly to the report.
構わないわ。予想通りよ。撃つこと、壊すことしか脳がなくても、青子の魔力の使い方は波じゃないから。急増の使い魔じゃ、まだ相手にはならないでしょう。
Okay, so if you're not expecting those things to work, what's your game here then? The robin flapped its wings as it tweeted in response. Perhaps it was criticizing Alice for complimenting Aoko. Or perhaps it was jealous of Aoko for being complimented by Alice. Alice could barely make sense of its chirping rant. Aoko Awazaki was a novice mage. Until just 2 years ago, she was someone who grew up with no background in magecraft. Compared to Alice, who was raised as a witch from birth, Aoko possessed far less talent and experience. Winning was an impossibility for Aoko. In a contest of skills in magecraft, 10 times out of 10, Alice would be declared the victor. However, a battle to the death was a different story. Alice Kwonji was not a mage suited for battle. Aoko Awazaki, on the other hand, was built for it. Okay. In a contest that pitted magical energy against magical energy, even Alice would concede that Aoko had the upper hand. Interesting. I feel like, though, if Alice just like the like those pig familiars she had in 1.5, right? If she sent those out against, well, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. I could be wrong. I would think maybe those. I don't know. Maybe Aoko could even blow those away. I have no idea. Aoko's manipulation of magical energy was extraordinary. The scale of her magic circuits was smaller than that of Alice's, but their rotational speed, durability, and quality of magical energy produced, not to mention the efficiency, were otherworldly. That was Aoko Awazaki's hallmark. Though she had many failings when handling sophisticated formulae, in just 2 years of practice, Aoko had surpassed Alice in simple formulae that merely required an energy input. She also had genius-level instincts and adaptability. Though Aoko was not particularly proficient at executing magecraft, she was terrifyingly fast. If she had been born outside the Awazaki clan, she would have doubtless risen to fame as a competitive sharpshooter. What, do the Awazakis not partake in sharpshooting? Or are you talking literally like with guns? Why? In a straight shootout, Alice didn't stand a chance. Alice Kwonji had never bothered to learn primitive magecraft like magic bullets in the first place. She was the classic puppeteer. Her familiars would carry out all the particulars of battle as her arms and legs.
制限時間には気づいているわよね、青子。魔力はいくらでも貸してあげるけど、あなたの魔弾はあと半時で値崩れするわ。
Oh, so that's why she said, or yeah, why she said her magic was getting stronger, because the energy Alice is pumping into the park to make everything come alive is also getting pumped into Aoko. That makes sense. Right. Huh. Chirping as if in agreement, the robin took flight. It had been nearly 10 minutes since Alice had made the amusement park into her dominion. To what would the green fog give birth next? Aoko and Sojiro, still running about, would come to understand the gravity of the situation. Probably.
ああ、その店を曲がれば出口だ。
Running non-stop at full speed had them at their limits. Their breath ragged, the two flew around the corner. Amusement park though it was still this was still the infamous KITSY land. It would have taken a high school student 20 minutes to sprint the entire circumference of the park. And though they were now intimately familiar with the park's geography, oh! Yeah, I guess knowing the geography of the park doesn't help when things fucking move. It was changing beyond recognition. The transformation was not limited to the park's residents either.
Ozaki.
Yeah.
何を
Look at these two.
言いたくないんだけど、この遊園地広くなってないか。
Possibly. It was. Yeah. Their problem wasn't as mundane as mistaking the location of the exit, or getting lost in the terrain. No. The park was warping and twisting in upon itself. Yeah. Even now, its structure was expanding and growing, like that of a living creature. Soon, the pair noticed the mob encircling them had grown even stronger. Entrusting her back to Sojiro, Aoko summoned all of her efforts to keep from whining. Okay, yeah, I mean, I guess whining wouldn't really do anything for you in this particular instance, so yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Whining. No one would have thought twice if it had been just Sojiro cowering in shock and terror. But Aoko doing the same? She bore responsibility for causing and then dragging him into this mess. She could not afford to succumb to panic.
大丈夫。落ち着け私。遊園地の果てはある。遠いけど鉄柵はちゃんと見える。フラットスナークだって制限なしってわけじゃない。外に逃げるって選択は正しいはず。
Yeah, probably.
現状外までは目算で1キロぐらいだけど。
A mile? I mean, both of you are pretty fit. If you a mile, you probably run a mile in less than 10 minutes. Around about 10 minutes, maybe. Up until now, they had been too concerned with simply running. Their breathing had become labored. If they had to run another mile without rest, they'd end up collapsing along the way.
Aozaki, 体大丈夫か?
Not the best, probably. Why are you shocked? The whisper from her behind pulled Aoko back to reality.
大丈夫だけど、 ちょっと一息入れたいわね。
Yeah.
賛成。ここから休みなしで外周まで走るのはやめた方がいい。
驚いた。しずきくんも外まで走ろう派とは。
I mean, what can he really do other than run? Like... After saying this, she let slip a giggle. Far from debilitated by panic, her comrade in arms had been analyzing the situation and forming an escape plan. I mean, saying they need to rest so they can run more is, I mean, I guess it's a plan, sort of, but...
ちょっとだけ建物に逃げ込むのは。
気は進まないけど、それしかないわね。
Yeah. The bread men had them completely surrounded. Are the bread men getting taller? I feel like they're getting bigger. Am I crazy? I feel like they've gotten much larger. Perhaps this might have been a problem for an average person, but for Aoko, breaking through their formation to get to the building would be a cinch. Would it? The issue was...
問題はどんな店を選ぶかってこと。
Not a plushie store. For sure. She considered the characteristics of the transforming park. What would pose a danger and what was safe? The most important factor was not the strength or the complexity of the building.
そうだ。選ぶならあの単純さで正しいはず。しずきくん、あっち。
After routing the monsters, Aoko hopped behind the counter, soon followed by Sojiro.
カウンターに隠れてて。
Like she was in a Western shootout, Aoko squared off against the monsters, using the counter as cover. Poor Sojiro!
ビンゴ。ここならスナーク化しないんだ。
Are you sure about that? After assessing the current state of the enemy, Aoko sat herself under the counter.
あいつらは
Probably just surrounding the place, because they know you have to leave eventually.
店の周りで地団打踏んでるわ。理由があってね。あいつらはここには入ってこられないのよ。
Okay, but why? Aoko gave the perplexed Sojiro a grin and took a deep breath. She heaved a heavy sigh of relief and fatigue.
とりあえずコーヒーブレイクね。ここは遊園地の中でも遊びのない場所だから、あいつらにとっては鬼門なのよ。レジスターも調理器具も最近のものだし、擬人化されたマスコットもないし、スナーク化するにはちょい文明犬すぎるってこと。
So it has to be wacky for the magic to work?
スナーク。
あいつらの名前よ。つけたのは私じゃなくてアリスなのかしらね。あの子の性格的にちょっと想像できないけど、まあとにかくそういう名前。
Perhaps now at ease from knowing that they were safe, Sojiro seemed enthralled in her explanation. Aoko couldn't help but chuckle as Sojiro nodded sagely. It was certain that he had no idea what she was talking about. Yeah, probably not. Normally this would have irritated her, but this time she was grateful for the warmth of his strange sobriety.
それはともかく調子良さそうだな、青崎。
Mistaking her smile for composure, Sojiro broke into a smile himself. Yeah. It was just another link in a chain of misunderstandings. But there was no need to redress it. I think it's supposed to be address, not redress, but okay.
あれ？あなたから見てもわかる？私の魔弾の威力が上がっているの。
そりゃ ミラーハウスで散々追いかけ回されたからな。あの時と同じ動作なのに物騒さが増していれば嫌でもわかる。
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
でもいいのか？確か数に限りがあるとか言ってただろう。もう随分撃っちまったけど20、30じゃ効かないぞ。
あんた時々あれよね。
Yeah, he's incredibly dense and like he misunderstands a lot, but he also is very he listens. He listens. That's one thing you can at least say about him. He listens and remembers. Her opinion of him improved just a little bit.
なんでもない。私の魔弾の威力が上がっているのは単純に魔力の濃度の問題。さっきから霧がかかってるでしょ。あれ全部魔力なのよ。弾を撃つための燃料と思って。
Okay, yeah, I was right. It is what Alice is doing. Magical energy was divided into two broad categories. First was Ode, produced inside a mage's body. Second was mana, which filled the atmosphere. At the moment, the amusement park had turned into a fairy tale land, overflowing with mana. Although it meant nothing to the average person, to a mage it was a paradise where spells could be cast as much as one pleased.
じゃあ残り魔力とやらは気にしなくていいのか。
Yeah, something like that.
注意すべきは怪我と体力だけ。
まあ個人的な責任においてはその限りね。
Sojiro breathed a sigh of relief. From Sojiro's perspective, more so than the monsters she mowed down, Aoko was the biggest bully on the playground. I mean... yeah. I mean, he's not wrong. He had big concern about what would happen should her magical energy be exhausted. But luckily for him, she was far from surrendering her crown.
頼りにしてくれるのは嬉しいけど、ぬか喜びよ。
Okay.
あんな雑魚たち、ただ動いているだけのガラクタなんだから。スナーク本体は当然として、アリスが他の童話の怪物を出してきたら、私じゃどうにもならない。
Yeah, if a giant fucking KITSY doll came after you, you'd probably be done for.
他の童話の怪物。遊園地をこんな風に変えたやつ以外にまだいるのか？
そう、プロイキッシャーって名付けられた私たちでさえ目を背けたくなる反則。不可能な夢物語をも再現する時代に取り残されたデタラメよ。
He's got no fucking idea, does he? Sojiro's expression seemed to be calling her out on the hypocrisy. Yeah, I guess from his point of view, magic itself, as well as these fantasy things, are both, well, fantasies, I guess. So, yeah.
あのね、私たちはちゃんと現代に寄り添った魔術師よ。できないこともあるし、当たり前のことだけど、近代兵器にはかなわない。20世紀、まあ、いろんな戦争の後押しで、兵器の進化は私たちを超えちゃったから。
Okay, good to know that a tank round could probably do some damage to you. That's good to know.
けど、あの子のは違う。どんなに人間の技術が進歩しようと関係ないって怪物なの。例えば、あのブレッドマンいるでしょ。あいつには自動拳銃とか効かないわよ。多分。意味が分かっていないから。
Aoko casually gestured outside, past the counter.
アリスの使い魔は全てが空想によってこねられた神秘なの。前提からしてありえないことだから、通常の物理法則と折り合いが悪い。空想と現実は両立しないっていうごく当たり前の理由でね。
なるほど。ブレッドマンってのはあの動く焼きたてパンのことなんだな。
Yeah, I feel as if I remember what fairy tale is that from? I feel like that was a thing, right? What was it? Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but I feel like I remember walking bread from somewhere, from some fairy tale. I don't know though. Sojo seems to have ignored the majority of Alka's explanation and only reacted to the part that caught his curiosity. Yeah.
話を戻すけど、
Okay.
あいつらと近代兵器の相性は最悪。ロケット弾でも効果はないわ。意思の疎通、秩序の共有ができてないから。プロイキッシャーにとって彼らの世界には存在しないもの、意味がわからないものは触れることなく無賛する。彼らに通じるのは同じ神秘を帯びた魔力だけっていうデタラメぶりよ。もう完全に概念空間っていうか概念宇宙っていうか。
It's a blank stare. Yeah, Alka?
要するにあいつらは伝承防御っていう特別なルールを持っていて、単純に強い力、強い魔術じゃ効果は薄いの。元になった童話にちなんだ欠点をつかないと倒せない。ギリシャ神話のアキレスあたり分かりやすい例えなんだけど、知ってる？
Sojo shook his head.
そう、無事帰れたら飛び丸あたりに教えてもらって。定番だけどいい話よ、あれ。
Sojo was feeling pretty lost, but he did his best to grasp the situation. He's like, whatever you say, man. Whatever you say. He thought that play kickshaws were scary enough to chase Alko and that puppet from before out of the house barefoot. Yeah, yeah, sure. Certainly the scene before them was the stuff of nightmares. Yeah, I'm just waiting for that fucking thing to actually try and kill them. But Sojo had a different way of thinking. Oh, okay. That is.
やっぱり青崎の方が怖くないか？
You know, just because you think it and it's probably true doesn't mean you should say it.
あんた死ぬの？
Yeah, this is why you shouldn't say it. Sojo waved in protest, silently pointing out that she had made his case for him. Okay.
あのね、今私たちを取り囲んでるのはおまけに過ぎないの。
Okay.
アリスにとってあのブレッドマンもロブスターもソーセージ屋のミンチマシーンも全部が全部私が撃ってる魔弾より価値がない。いい？あの動くマスコットたちはね、ただのおまけなの。アリスが解放した童話の怪物の一呼吸みたいなものなのよ。
呼吸ってこれが？
I'm gonna ignore the typo. These things, right? Yeah.
私だって考えたくないわよ。でもそれが現状。たった一体の童話の怪物だけで私たちは手一杯。そういうわけだからアリスがあと一体でも追加したら諦めて。
追加ってこれに制限はないのか？
Maybe.
あの子が出し惜しみしなければまだ何体かストックはあるでしょうけど、まあ成立する条件はあるわね。例えば川がないと目を覚まさない怪物もいる。この遊園地噴水はあるけど川はないでしょ。元になった童話縛りなの、あの子の使い魔は。
童話ってかけそばとか？
I guess.
ここに川がないのは不幸中の幸いね。もしあったらもっと直接制圧に向いたやつが出てきてた。
Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah, it's good. Great. Aoko continued, completely ignoring Sojiro.
話の続きだけど、アリスの魔術の基本はマザーグースって知らないか。イギリスの歌で遊び心に富んだメルヘンチックな内容よ。ただそっち系のプロイキッシャーは怖くないの。みんなそれなりになんとか魔術にも落とし込める範囲だから。
聞きたくないんだけど、そっち系じゃないのは？
マザーグースを下地にしたとある創作童話系。あの子のお母さんが好きでね。こっち系のはどいつもこいつも尋常じゃない。私たちから見ても勘弁してって言いたくなるわ。でこの遊園地を生き返らせたのはこっち系よ。多分フラットスナークってやつだと思う。私も聞き流していたから詳しくはわからないけど。
I'm sorry for being silent right here, but I'm absorbing information. So, yeah, Sojiro swallowed the discomfort, making it. I'm literally Sojiro right now. I'm just like, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, makes sense. Sojiro swallowed the discomfort, making its way up his throat. He really wanted her to explain things a little less vaguely, but something she had just said necessitated further investigation.
待て青崎、あの子の話を聞き流したってなんで？
Yeah.
いや、説明してもらったのは随分と前だし、あの頃はアリスの話あんまり信じられなかったのよね。
You're really kicking yourself for that one now, though, huh?
私が素人だと思って大げさに自分の魔術を語ってくれてるな、舐められてるなとか。
Nervous laughter. In truth, if anyone hadn't taken the lesson seriously, it was Aoko. She would learn that lesson firsthand soon enough when she experienced just how real Alice's monsters were. Yeah. She'd also discover how heretical the Mindster Witches truly were in the world of Magecraft.
その聞き流した内容は？
何でも強力な結界を張るプロイだって。アリスが受け継いだプロイは山ほどあるけど、その中でもえりすぐりの一つよ。捨てられたもの、忘れられたものを童話的に蘇らせるやつで、今まで誰も破ったことがないとか。
That's concerning.
それでついたあだ名が触れられぬもの。
フラットスナークじゃないのか？
Apparently.
それもあだ名。とにかく正体がわからないやつばっかりなんで、一つの個体に複数の名前が付けられるの。フラットスナークはその中でも正体不明さはトップランクのデタラメぶりよ。あなたルイス・キャロルのスナーク狩りって本知ってる？
Probably not.
いや、そもそもルイス・キャロルというのは。
そっからか。ドジスン教授はそうね、特殊性癖を持った妄想紳士ってとこ。まあこっちは別にどうでもいいか。人によっては時間の無駄だろうし。
Yeah. Also, hasn't it been 5 minutes? Shouldn't y'all be like trying to run now?
今重要なのは彼が残した著作の方。スナーク狩りはね、スナークって呼ばれる正体不明の怪物を捕まえようと奔走する冒険家たちの話なの。キャロルらしい皮肉ばっちり、支離滅裂、意味不明、結末不在の本当に困った本で、一行は島で苦しみつつ最終的にはスナークを見つけるものの、見つけたベイカーは唐突に姿を消して終わってしまう。よくわからないもの探しに奔走する人間の風刺なんだけど、この遊園地において誰がベイカーで何がスナークかは言うまでもないでしょ。
The baker is Alice, because she's sending bread after us, and we're the snark? I guess. Alco elected not to share this, but Flat Snark had other popular names as well. The Enigmatic Island, the Five-Dimensional Plane. These names were not given to it by Alice, but rather muttered by mages whom the Meisters defeated. In mathematics, snark is a term used in graph theory to refer to contradictory and impossible planar graphs. A plane, proven to be unable to exist in this world, was given the name apt for an ill-fated existence paradoxical in nature. The fairy tale monster ascribed to this name was said to hold no form discoverable by man. Alco also declined to mention something else. Flat Snark was a fairy tale monster that could grow. Oh, so that's why the park is growing, eh? I don't know why I put on an accent there, I don't know. It would hide somewhere in the amusement park, continuously exhaling magical energy until the park completely transformed into a fantasy land.
脅かしてもしょうがないし。
何か言ったか？
別に。簡単に言って童話世界の再生がフラットスナークの力なの。
はあ？
この遊園地との相性は抜群でしょうね。何しろ元々が童話を元にした遊び場だから。
Yeah, it kind of makes this place incredibly, or this place makes it incredibly powerful, I assume. If this had been a business district, for example, Flat Snark would have posed far less of a threat. At most, its power would be limited to projecting the shadow of a dinosaur onto a building's window panes. Yeah.
あ、だからここは安全だって。ん？
What? Sojiro realized that something was wrong when he noticed a glutinous liquid dripping onto his back. Yeah, that's not good. He looked up to the ceiling. Their eyes met. Before he had a chance to think, Sojiro hopped up from the floor.
青崎外だ!
Taking the initiative, he jumped out from behind the counter.
バカ、何して!
Busy trying to stop him from committing an act of suicide, she also came to her feet. Immediately, she noticed something being brought to life overhead. Yeah, I didn't notice that, huh? Yeah, I guess the roof had a drawing or painting of KITSY. Or whatever that was. I don't know if that was KITSY, but whatever. The gargantuan mouth clamped shut. With no mascot to speak of, the burger joint itself began to transform into one giant monster.
もう、なんで天井にピエロの絵なんて描いてんのよ、あの店。
It was just basic clown A, okay.
普通もっと違うところに労力割かない？そんなにピエロが好きなら入り口にでも飾っとけ。
Aoko aired out her grievances as she ran. There was no safe haven left. Moment by moment, the last remnants of civilization were being eroded away by fairy tales. I mean, to be fair, it'd been well over 5 minutes, so... It's about time for y'all to start running anyway. Where did the dragon come from? The amusement park had reached the final stage of snarkification. it was not just the mascot characters that had been granted life. Like the burger joint, even the buildings had begun to transform. The roller coaster that had made its way about the park writhed and twisted like a Chinese dragon. Okay, so that's where the dragon came from, is the roller coaster, okay. Aoko and Sojiro stared dumbfounded by the Ferris wheel, which had grown to over 250 feet in height. Yeah, no, I'm not good with heights. I can barely stand regular Ferris wheels, so, yeah, no, miss me with that. Hordes of bread men closed in on them as if to offer tickets. Mobs of trinkets, actual kickshaws, rampaged the park. Whenever a hole was punched in the envelopment, it was instantly filled. It was a battle of attrition with no end in sight. But that was a matter of course, as there were few fairy tales about limited resources.
なんかどうしようもないぞ。こいつら増える一方だ。
スナーク本体を探して。童話の怪物には本体に当たる器物があるの。それさえ壊せば遊園地から出られるはず。
That could literally be anything.
本体ってどんな？
さっき言ったでしょ。童話の怪物は現実にないものだって。今までいなかったおかしなやつとか現実じゃありえないもの。それが本体。
I don't think he's seen anything in here before. Well, actually, no, because he worked here, like taking stuff apart, right? So I guess maybe he has seen it before. Yeah, no, that works then. Anything you didn't see here whenever you like worked here to like take stuff down.
おかしなやつって例えば。
Oh yeah, he doesn't know what's weird. He thinks everything's normal.
だから。
Kinda, yeah.
命のある人形とか空飛ぶゴーカートとか。
You mean literally everything? Aoko. She's like, oh wait, fuck. Aoko paused her firing for a moment. After saying this out loud, she realized just how deep their grave was dug. The amusement park was a treasure trove of fairy tale-esque creatures on any given day. Who could say what was impossible amidst the newly transfigured knickknacks running around?
そっか。おかしくないやつなんて一つもないんだ。
Right? Like
この中に紛れ込んでる。
Hoping that she was wrong, Aoko bit her bottom lip. Flat snark was the type of ploy that deployed bounded fields. Yeah. Seeing as it was commanding so many familiars, it wouldn't be unusual for its main body to have little or even no defenses. Furthermore, if it was modeled from a story about it being untouchable and unidentifiable, it would be logical to assume that it would collapse in on itself shortly after being discovered.
逆に言えば、見つければ私たちの勝ち。
You hope.
そんな脆いやつが雑魚に紛れ込む。木の葉を隠すなら森の中って言うけど。
Don't tell me it's the horse. Oh no, she just blew that away, never mind. This was closer to the truth than Aoko realized. As long as there was the slightest possibility of it being hit by one of Aoko's stray bullets, it would not dare appear in front of them. Its true form was orchestrating the park from somewhere safe.
でもどこかに見えているはず。スナークは本の主題だもの。常にページのどこかにいないと主人公の資格がない。
It's the Ferris wheel, isn't it? It's the Ferris wheel. But where? Thinking in the most basic terms, the Ferris wheel was very safe, as well as a symbol of the park itself. Perhaps...
あの子を捕まえるのは
I don't think, you know. Her eyes opened wide at the sudden suggestion. While Alko had been trying to come up with a plan to overcome the stalemate, it seemed Sojiro had been racking his brain as well. His proposal was a simple one. Maybe in theory, in practice, I don't know about that. If they couldn't find the snark, they just needed to take out its master, Alice. Alice hadn't moved at all from the clock tower. Even from here, they could make out her figure, draped in moonlight.
それは一番ダメ。アリスを殺してもフラットスナークは止まらないし、このトンデモが外に溢れ出すことになる。だいたい私じゃあの子を殺せないから、よくて半殺しがいいところ。
Even that might be giving yourself too much credit. A bread man, angered at the insults hurled towards his master, moved to attack and was mercilessly burned to a crisp. The two stood back to back, catching their breath. With no plan to speak of and no route of escape, they had reached rock bottom. This is a pretty cool shot. Back to back, surrounded on all sides. Meanwhile, the oddities were forming a circle around their prey, as if they smelled blood and water. Were they to be dragged into a bakery for the oven, minced in the meat grinder at the butcher shop, skewered and paraded around atop the carousel, walk the plank of the thorny pirate ship? After 2 years of slumber, they were eager to welcome their new guests.
一応聞いておきたいんだけど。
Yeah?
何？手短にね。今考え事してるから。
ああ、あの連中が何をしたいか嫌っていうほど伝わってくるんだけど、それってあの子の趣味なのかな？
I'm not sure.
その疑問はなかったわ。
Yeah.
連中の人間嫌いは遊園地の怨念とフラットスナークの性格じゃない。基本的にまともなやついないから、アリスの使い魔って。あ、でも。
Alko was unable to deny that there were some similarities.
それは結構。それで青崎の考え事って
I think I'm
止める方法考えついたのか？
I'm still thinking it's the Ferris wheel itself that's the main thing. I don't know.
期待させて悪いけどお手上げ。ま、あんたが殺されれば止まるでしょうけど。
True. If Sojiro died, Alice might be like, well, you don't need to die, Alko. Although she might punish you still, but she probably wouldn't kill you. Maybe.
それは嫌だ。とりあえず逃げよう。
He's like, no, thank you.
しずきくん
She blinked in surprise at the sudden turn of events. Sojiro, who had until now been meekly following her lead, had grabbed Alko's hand and pulled her with him into a suicidal charge toward the swarm of bread in an attempt to break out of the encirclement. Oh.
意味わかんなすぎ。
Apparently.
なんで今の流れでそうなるのよ、あんたは。
You know, I don't know. It's working though. Alko nonetheless followed Sojiro's uncharacteristically gung-ho lead, cursing him all the while. Sojiro wouldn't be able to break through the surrounding wall of enemies with brute force. Alko regained her bearings and let fly a spray of magic bullets ahead of Sojiro. They broke through the net and ran as hard as they could. At this point, all that was left to do was what they had planned from the outset, aim to get out of the park. But not before addressing what needed to be addressed.
なんでよ、さっきはあんなに諦めよかったのに。
Yeah, I mean, sort of, but yeah, not now. Alko couldn't begin to comprehend Sojiro's reaction.
ミラーハウスの時と今は違うだろ。いいから走れ。
What a badass.
違わないわよ。あんたを殺そうとした私も、あんたを殺したいアリスも、理由の結果も同じよ、私たち。
Yeah, but it's not you who's trying to kill him. Though she wondered what was getting her so worked up, Aoko didn't stop. She told herself that the degree of Sojiro's stupidity, was charging the bread men so recklessly, had caused her to lose her cool.
あのね、一緒に逃げてるぐらいで勘違いしないでくれる？言っとくけど私、明日になったらまたあんたを殺しに行くから。死にたくないってんなら、ここで私からも逃げ出したら？
Yeah, okay.
それはまた今度の話だろう。だいたい青崎に殺されるのならいいけど、あの子に殺されるのは嫌だ。
Again, you know, that's kind of odd, but you know, okay, you do you.
だからなんで？
だって顔も知らない、話したことさえない相手だ。
Well, actually, that's not true. I mean, I guess you haven't like spoken to her, but you have sort of talked with her when you gave her food as when you were doing deliveries, but neither of you really. Yeah, okay. She's like, what the fuck? What kind of logic? It was like someone had doused water over her blazing fury. Aoko's anger was snuffed out by the absurd simplicity of his reasoning.
顔も知らないって。
Apparently. Could it be that Sojiro did not mind being killed by someone as long as he had met them? I guess. I think it's more than that though, but you know. Aoko chased behind him, grimacing at the ever-increasing incomprehensibility of it all. Yeah, he kinda crazy. From her spot atop the clock tower, the girl observed the growth of her familiar. Flat Snark. A savior of the discarded. It was a vile, vulgar fairy tale monster who provided those abandoned by fate with a glimmer of hope before snatching it away. Alice had it under her control, but she was still keen to keep the Snark from expressing its bad habits. After completing a lap around the park that had now reached the size of an entire town, the Robin made its situation report.
そう、外を目指しているの。
I mean, yeah. It seemed Aoko was prioritizing the safety of the boy. Even if it resulted in wasting an entire day, choosing to not capitulate on a decision was very much like her.
青子のことだから、時計台ごと私を焼き払いに来るかと思ったけど。
I mean, I don't think... I don't know. The bluebird cheeped in response. Was it denying its master's portrait of Aoko? Or agreeing that it was Aoko's style to do exactly that? An outsider might interpret its interjections either way.
退屈？
The robin jumped at being addressed so unexpectedly. It chirped and flapped its wings like a flustered servant, frantic to say otherwise.
珍しく気があったわね。いいわ。せっかくのゲームだし、もう少しだけ盛り上げましょう。
How so? How are you gonna liven it up even more? Calmly, she pulled out a small object from her pocket. It was a dark gray Easter egg, and emanating from inside it was the ticking of a clock. The robin knew it to be a ploy kickshaw with a bad attitude far exceeding Flat Snark's, known to be among the best in one-on-one situations.
いってらっしゃい。称える時間は20分に設定したわ。いつも通り 控えめに壊れてきて。
And together with the witch's breath, the egg filled with praise disappeared. Suddenly, a strong wind swept through the park. The words, "I could have killed them all by myself," floated through the air. It was the disappointment of something enormous that was both visible yet overlooked. Okay. Aoko and Sojiro continued to dash toward the boundary separating the park from outside. The Kiryo horde that stood in their way had reduced in number. The iron fence that separated the two from the outside world was just over 300 yards away. Fortunately, there were no particularly large buildings barring their path. If the Ferris wheel had stood in their way, that would have spelled the end, but thankfully it had yet to reach its full strength. The only things that appeared before them were weak oddities that could easily be handled by Aoko's simple magecraft. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. She would have said make it to the fence if her lungs would only allow it. Since Aoko was utilizing the ample mana filling the park, her tank of magical energy was nearly full. Coupled with the fact that the condition of her body's circuits was steadily improving to the extent that she'd be able to unleash at least one all-out onslaught. Until, above her field of vision, something unusual was hovering. It was locked on Sojiro, hovering 10 feet above him over to one side.
Shizuki-kun, ちょっと。
ああ、さっきからついてきてる。
Sojiro had seemingly noticed it before Aoko, hence his previous awkward glances toward the sky. A lot of the shots in this section have been really good. Same thing with inside the House of Mirrors during the puppet fight. In truth, it would have been stranger for him not to notice as the thing was practically glued to him. Yeah. Queen Alice Moongrass. Queen Alice Moongrass? I don't know what that means. In terms of its size, the floating object measured about 3 feet in diameter. Tiles covered its exterior, about which a multitude of spinning lights danced about.
卵かな?
Looks like it. Sojiro asked, not really sure what to call it.
卵って言ったら割れる卵。
Yeah? Or not. Her bullets bounced off like it was made of rubber. That trait, the ability to deflect all outside interference, confirmed to Aoko that this thing was undoubtedly a ploy kickshaw.
やっぱり外からのルールじゃ壊れないか。しずきくん、あれから絶対に目をそらさないで。いい、何があっても見続けること。視界の隅に入れとくだけでいいから。
ああ。
Just do it. Well, yeah. Luckily, he's not taking her for, He's taking her all her words at face value, as much as he can anyway. So there's that. Aoko picked up her pace as she barked orders. The Eggman who sat on a wall. He would crack, just as the tale spoke of. I don't think that's what this is about, but okay. Nothing anyone could do or say would cause him to fall, but the moment they stopped looking, he would tumble down and break into pieces.
いわく、王様の軍隊でも元に戻せない数の破片。
It was the Mother Goose poem Humpty Dumpty. I don't know if that's what it is, to be honest, but I'll agree with it for now. If Sojiro was his target, then the moment he averted his gaze, it would tumble and explode.
爆発するかどうかは知らないけど。
Yeah. Either way, it was going to scatter something troublesome when it fell. Its oval shape, the keyhole adorning the front, and writing inscribed upon it. They all made her anxious. That's why I don't think it's Humpty Dumpty. If it was an egg, that meant it was going to hatch at some point. Even if it continued to stare, once the time came for whatever was inside to come out, they would have even less ability to conserve their energy.
青崎、早すぎないか。あまり全力で走ると。
後のことは考えないで。いいからしずきくんは卵だけに集中して。
At this critical juncture, Breadmen stepped out to join the egg and block their path.
邪魔!
The Breadmen were marching forth in a grand battalion. At her level of power, Aoko should have easily mowed them down. However,
肩焼きかこの
if Snap failed to do the job, that meant it was time for her to put her crest to use. Draw. A formula-triggered bullet encased in a full-wind jacket. If her previous shots were the equivalent of a machine gun volley, then this was her artillery shot. The hard-crust bread that had absorbed her snap without a dent scattered into thousands of tiny pieces at her draw's torrent. It's just wah. Of course, the destruction did not end with just the Breadman. Sending bricks flying, the previously paved road was now bare. The nearby stall had turned into a skeleton of steel beams. It was a spectacle that made Sojiro question which force, the wall of Breadmen or Aoko's ability to lay waste to things, would obstruct their path more. Both? Equally?
ちょっとなんで距離取るのよそこそばにいないと危ないじゃないほらもっとこっち言っとくけどあんたがあいつらに囲まれちゃったらアウトよ私人質とか意味ないタイプだしそもそも区別して撃つとかそういうのできないし
We noticed. This made a lot of sense to Sojiro. He had not fully appreciated the part about hostages, but he got the gist of it.
つまり、今はどこであろうと危険なのか。
Yeah.
あんたね。
She's adorable when she's angry, flustered. Yeah, it's funny. Offended though she was by his typical naive response, she couldn't help but be impressed. Right? He's still being like snippy at her, even in this situation. Sojiro was a straight arrow through and through. His eyes stayed firmly focused on the egg overhead, even amidst the chaos of the melee unfolding before him. Oh, that's okay.
その分なら安心か。物分かりは悪いけど、一度言われたことはきっちり守るあたり、あなたのいいところよね。
Thanks.
そんなことより青崎、俺の気のせいならいいんだけど、さっきのパン、硬くなかったか
Gee, I don't know.
まあね、あいつら少しずつ強くなってきてるわ。大量生産が軌道に乗ったんで、今度はクオリティアップをテーマにしたのかも。しずきくんでもお察しの通り、ここからは手強くなっていく一方よ。 あのパンたちでさえ個体差が出てきたみたいだし。考えたくないけど、そのうちジャム塗ったりレタス乗っけたり、果ては合体したりして。
That would be kind of fucking weird. What the fuck? Though she was joking, her eyes were dead serious. Sojiro shuddered at the thought of the situation growing even more dire.
じゃあそのうちミラーハウスの人形ぐらいに怖くなるのか、あいつら。
Maybe not that far, but
間違いなくね。そこまでレアなパンになったら、私も自分だけで手一杯になる。ところでしずきくん、ああいうのと喧嘩できる？
maybe? Sojiro shook his head, a look of complete aversion upon his face.
でしょ？なら急ぎましょう。いろいろ余裕ないんだから。
Aoko took a quick, deep breath, then began to sprint once again. Far in the distance, through the fog, the iron fence waited, 300 paces away. As long as nothing happened, they would make it there in one piece. Sojiro followed after Aoko, holding on to that all-too-convenient hope. Ah, that's the problem with hope. I forget the rest of the quote. But hope was something ever fleeting. Yeah. It lasted not even 300 yards. The edge of the amusement park may well have been the edge of the world. Oh. Yeah, I knew it. I knew something was going to happen at the gate itself when they finally got there. Dozens of undulating horizons could be seen, crowding the sky like a giant cloud or a thick curtain, or perhaps groaning lips. It was the end of the road, the outer limit of an outrageous and fantastical realm. And yet, Aoko found it to be much like the last page of an enormous picture book. Yeah. That's not good. The sight turned her mind blank. Well, this is about as bad as it gets, she thought. The Snark, this island of despair, had at last brought Aoko to her knees as she stared at the swelling border. The park indeed had an end. Even now, as Aoko and Sojiro had expected it to be, a fence divided the amusement park from the residential area neighboring it. It had both doubled in height and had been made sturdier, another hurdle she had foreseen before even laying eyes on it. Expecting it to have been snarkified, Aoko had come prepared to demolish an obstacle or two. But this construction before her went far beyond a mere wall. It was an ocean that separated the underworld from the mortal one. The iron fence was like a restless, surging sea. One or two walls could easily be toppled. Even 10 or 20 could be dealt with one way or another. Between the power left in her body and that which filled the park, putting on a brave front was within her power. She could fully mobilize her circuits and her crests to the point of burnout in a last-ditch effort, like some reenactment of the parting of the Red Sea.
でも、それで終わり。
Even if the path could be opened, she wouldn't have the energy left to walk it. And it was obvious what would become of her afterward. The residents would hardly forgive her for wreaking such havoc around the park. Like ants drawn to honey, they would swarm the helpless girl and tear her to pieces. That's why I gotta trust Sojiro! You open up that path and he'll carry you out. Despondent and exhausted, she felt a faint sting of remorse. Escaping the park, looking back on how they had gotten here, Aoko recognized that her choices had been her undoing. Under the golden full moon, beams of steel bent and emerged like wireframe sculptures. It was only a matter of time before the amusement park itself became one colossal monster. The horde of familiars gathered in the plaza where Alice was had formed an impenetrable blockade around her. Just above the head of the boy beside her, the whispering egg, called Scratch Dumpty, continued to shuffle what appeared on its surface.
青崎
しずきくん。
The boy's voice snapped Aoko out of her trance. If only for a moment. The stark reality of the situation quickly dawned on the novice mage. The sheer hopelessness of it all, as it ripped out and snatched away any will she had to resist.
ゲートに行こう。ここはどうしようもないけど、入り口ならもうちょっとマシだろ。フラットスナークだっけ？こいつにもルールがあるって言ったじゃないか。
Yeah.
なら、これは役割の問題だ。初めから鉄柵は通れない壁だけど、ゲートなら出入り口として機能しているかもしれない。
That's good thinking there, Sojiro. Sojiro had not given in to panic. Aoko found herself honestly admiring Sojiro's ability to analyze the Snark's characteristics, given the circumstances. Now calm, she steeled her resolve.
そうね。確かに門はあると思う。けど、たどり着くのは難しいわ。一番弱かった焼きたてパンですら、今はもうあれだもの。広場や入り口には、もっと上等なのがたむろしてるだろうし、門だって、あの観覧車以上の怪物かもしれない。確か、大きなキッツィちゃんだったでしょ、正門って。
Yeah, that could be a problem.
青崎はゲートには行かないのか。
まあね。それよりこっちの方が現実的だし。
How do you figure? Aoko took another glance at the undulating iron fences. It was too late to achieve their goal of making it out alive. In that case, she decided to prioritize the other promise she had made.
今からこの鉄柵を壊すから、あなたはそこから外に出て。それで、私の役割はおしまいよ。
Though her words were few, her tone told the whole story. You know he won't abandon you, right? She was telling him to escape by himself.
信じられない。こんなの青崎だけじゃ壊せないだろ。
私だけならね。でも今はこの遊園地が味方してる。燃料がこれだけあるんだから、私は重心になるだけでいいんだし、一発でかいのお見舞いしてやるわ。ま、それでも一回が限度だから、穴を開けたらあんたには全力で走り抜けてもらうしかないけど。
She would carve a path through this iron sea of fences, gambling on one final effort, a great incantation to launch a massive projectile that pushed her limits to the extreme. As an outsider, Sojiro couldn't even begin to imagine just how much of a burden this would be for her. All he could imagine was a hazy vision of Aoko being left behind in this park. What would happen to her? Would that girl in black come to save her? I don't know. Cruel as it was to imagine, he knew she wouldn't. After Aoko had exhausted her very best in order to save him, that girl would not stay her hand. The only way Alice would let Aoko off the hook was if Aoko killed Sojiro as payment. And so...
20メートルぐらい離れてて。準備に手間取るけど、その卵の表面が茹で上がるまでには終わらせるから。
It went without saying that this was the only path.
待ってくれ。俺を逃がすって言うけど、それに意味はあるのか、青崎。
ないけど、外に出られたところでアリスから逃げ切れるとは思えないし。けどこれぐらいは最後の意地よ。守るって言ったんだから、できるところまでやらないと。
Surprised by her seemingly moral stance, Sojiro saw Aoko in a new light. Ah, but of course, Sojiro realized that she wasn't fighting for his sake, but for the sake of her pride.
そうだったな。けど、それなら俺だけ逃がすのはらしくないぞ。
何よ、いいから離れてて。
For some reason, Aoko took a step away from him. She was recalling how, an hour ago, he had gotten the better of her.
青崎、まだ意地を張れるんなら他のことをやろう。このお化けみたいな鉄柵を壊せるなら他に壊すべきものがあるはずだ。
ないわよ。悪いけど私は目に見えるものしか壊せないの。最後まで形のない希望にすがるとか考えるのも寒気がする。
Think of something then.
いい？今はフラットスナークなんかよりこの壁を壊してあんたを足抜けさせるのが私の現実。私に負える最大限の責任って。
逃げるのか。
Aoko was just about to turn her back on him when Sojiro clutched her hand. His words caused something inside of her to boil with rage. It was as though someone had set her heart on fire. The surprise that pricked open her true feelings and the disappointment she felt toward herself thawed her frozen limbs.
誰が逃げるのはそっちで逃がしてあげるのはこっちだって言うのよ。甘く見ないで。いざとなったら遊園地ごと爆破してみせるわ。
Then do it.
そうか。ならここで俺を逃がすのは無駄だな。その気迫は本命のために取っておこう。それまでは俺も手伝うから。
は？手伝う？それこそ無駄な気遣いよ。あったまきた。いいから逃げろバカ。だいたい走り詰めで息も絶え絶えなやつなんか使えないわよ。
So mean.
そりゃいい加減ヘトヘトだけど、そういう青崎なんか疲れ以上に傷の方が傷んでるだろ。
Not to mention the injury to her back that Aoko had nearly forgotten about. Even now, she couldn't ignore the pain that Automaton had inflicted on her spine. With iron will, she'd managed to push it out of her mind, mostly.
ほら、魔術とか抜きにすればまだ俺の方がマシじゃないか。入り口までおぶっていくことぐらいならなんとか。
Interesting proposition.
できないことは口にしないで。
Oh, you think you can't keep it? That's what you think, huh?
もういいから言って。慣れているもの、私は。でもあなたは違う。こういうの初めてでしょ。だからいいの。
The fact that they were a team. The fact that she would still have to kill him after all of this. None of the irony was lost on her as she said these words. Because none of it mattered anymore. Still, Sojiro didn't let go of her hand. He gripped it even harder. His expression was the same as ever. Aoko frowned, trying to figure out if he was upset with her.
確かにこういうのは初めてだ。けど山じゃ危険な目ぐらい合ってる。鹿に襲われたことだってあるんだぞ、俺は。
A deer, okay. As a city girl, she had no idea what it meant to be attacked by a deer, but his determination was apparent enough. True. Looking back on it now, he had maintained his composure through it all. A normal person would barely be able to talk through such panic. Perhaps growing up deep in the mountains, far from civilization, had taught him how to stay calm in the face of so much.
だから信じてくれ。少しでいいから。
He spoke his plain, unadulterated feelings, and released his hand. There was no lie in him. In fact, he was too honest. So much so that she found it hard to believe him. Sojiro had no reason to go that far. As it stood, Aoko had no future. After confessing this and telling him to escape, why did this boy still offer to help a person like her?
わからない。どうしてそこまでするの？私に付き合えばあなたは死ぬのよ。これが最後だからちゃんと考えてよね。あなたはここで逃げるべきよ。
それはわかるよ。でも行かない。
Sojiro answered immediately, realizing that Aoko was looking for his reason. This level of insight in Sojiro demanded a round of applause.
そうすると、青崎が死んでしまいそうだ。
His words were as irrational as always.
だから、どうしてそこまでするのよ、あんたは。
She was yelling out of frustration. After thinking for a moment, Sojiro replied,
そりゃ、君が好きだからだろ。
And it's gonna be the same thing that he had with Tobimaru. It's gonna be a mistake about like it being like, not just liking her as a person. Simple and to the point. His face seemed to ask why she would even question him so. There was a pause. No more than 2 seconds. His surprise attack had stopped Aoko in her tracks. Alice wasn't the only one who had an ace up her sleeve. That line reached deeper even than Flat Snark could ever hope to. All Aoko could respond with was an expression of pure shock. It was a simple, stubborn reason, the strongest kind on Earth. Sojiro Shizuki was indeed incomprehensible to be able to work unconditionally with someone who was trying to kill him. But she felt as though she'd finally grasped a sliver of his true nature. Tobimaru and the others' assessment of him was correct, as vexing as it was to her to admit.
バカね。私はあなたのこと嫌いなのに。
Yeah. He laughed at her sour grumbling. At this point, he was used to her insults. Their clash of wills ended here. Aoko's blood ran hot from her blazing heart. If he was going to make a face like that, all she could do was try to think of a way to get them both home.
私だって逃げっぱなしは性に合わないし。
Good. I guess.
いいわよ。最後まで粘ってみる。それにしずきくんが付き合ってくれるなら、何かの役には立つでしょ。
Though her tone had lightened, there was still hesitation in her eyes. It was only natural. Aoko hadn't even a clue as to how to begin to fight the Snark. Again, I still think it's the Ferris wheel itself. I think you blow that up and you're good. But if only she'd been just a bit more skilled or had trained just a bit more, there might have been some way to look for it.
我ながら情けない。せめて正体を暴く手がかりでもあればいいんだけど。
Without realizing, she let her apprehension show. Whining was pointless. She would just have to figure it out by herself, but...
なんだ 正体さえ分かればいいのか？
She's like, wait, what? Aoko gave him a look as if to ask what that was supposed to mean.
いや、だからおかしなものはどれかってことだろ？
Yeah. Sojiro also made a face that suggested she should have brought it up sooner.
わかるのあんた。
Maybe.
多分。いや、結構前から気になっていたんだけど。
Sojiro whispered in her ear quietly, so as not to be overheard. Ferris wheel? It was certainly unexpected. But then again, equally obvious. After he explained the mistake, she knew right away that he was correct. At last, she had an inkling of Flat Snark's original form. Namely... Ferris wheel, Ferris wheel, Ferris wheel, Ferris wheel. Saving, okay. They strategized for how have they not been attacked? I mean, I guess... I don't know. They strategized for 10 minutes. After deliberation regarding the Snark's true form and figuring a plan of attack, the two exchanged nods in acceptance of their roles.
それじゃあここからは別行動ね。でもミラーハウスの時みたいなのは勘弁してよ。この作戦の肝はあなたなんだから。開始1分でドジったら本当に打つ手なしだからね。
He'll try. Though she jabbed him for his previous failure as a decoy, her voice was bright. Aoko's original vigor had returned to her at Sojiro's discovery of the truth. Meanwhile, Sojiro was also getting serious in his own way. He took Aoko's warning to heart.
ならいいけど、いい？さっきと立場は反対よ。
Wait. So you're gonna be the decoy and he's gonna... Wait, how is he supposed to destroy anything? Wait, what? Okay, explain.
失敗したら死ぬのは私じゃなくてそっち。もうフォローに回れないから、できるだけ慎重にね。
Oh, okay, in that sense, not in the... Okay, I see.
分かってる。今更ながら、やっぱりさっき逃がしてもらえばよかったと思うぐらい慎重だ。
Sojiro nodded, telling her to leave it to him. Though he made it sound like he was holding a grudge, it seemed to him to be the only way of showing her his resolve. Aoko let out a sigh of defeat. Once more, she couldn't figure him out.
ほんと、大バカなんだか大物なんだか。
Both.
でも任せた。期待してるわ、しずきくん。
She had wanted to say that she believed in him, but apparently that was too embarrassing for her. But she still thinks it! Okay. She still... Aoko turned away from Sojiro and began to run. Why are you smiling? Why are you smiling, huh? Okay. She had begun to think that maybe this change of pace was not so bad after all. And so ended the intermission. Hey. The young cast were handed their new lines. But what of the climax? At long last, this night of witches had entered its climax.